It's that time on Sunday morning when we page through some of the country's latest riveting books. Today is a bit different, though, as I don't have members of the eNCA book club with me, and I'm not going to really be looking at a conventional book review. In fact, I'm having an in-depth conversation with one of the country's most celebrated cartoonists, Jonathan Zapiro, known as Zapiro. His annual book is out, and this year it's a collection of stories about the pandemic. Do the Macorona is the title of the book. Welcome, Mr. Zapiro, for joining us. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, first of all, the title, it goes to one of the pages that you feature, of course, the Macorona. And you talk a lot about, you have like basically the timeline and a song that trended around the world. Tell us more about the title.
Well, I'm perfectly happy to sing it for you if you like. If you've got that cartoon up there, it's sort of, essentially each year I get some. When I go through the cartoons that I'm going to be putting in the book and I edit them and put them in order and work with the person who helps me write captions, we find something that really seems to capture the year. And this one was so easy. Going viral, the Macorona. And this was in March, don't forget. So one thing that's missing from here is masks, because we were told at that stage we don't need masks. But everything else that we were hearing about is sort of here. So it goes like this. If you've got, I don't know if you've got it up on screen, but it goes, keep your social distance around about a meter. Don't shake hands, use the elbow or the pita. Avoid big crowds, you should rather be a loner. Ay, Macorona. Sneeze into your elbow, it's essential hygiene. If you're symptomatic, maybe self-quarantine. It's all gone global from Beijing to Barcelona. Ay, Macorona. Clean hands often with hand sanitizer. Listen to official medical advisor.
Ignore fake news and things on your phone. Hey, Macorona. Conspiracies, forget them, and religious polemic.
It's not God's fury, it's a viral pandemic.
Don't trust Trump, he's up.
Corona.
Hey, Macorona.
I have to tell you, that's the first time I've beeped. I normally say the actual words there when I do it, but yeah, it definitely feels for me like it sums up the year. Of course, there are lots of other things about the pandemic, about the idea that everywhere in the world, and in particular particularly in a place like South Africa, the pandemic exacerbated the divisions that are already in society. So the apartheid divisions, apartheid spatial geography, the difference between experiencing the lockdown in a township compared to a leafy suburb, those things are things I bring up in the cartoons a lot.
Of course, what I have on screen right now is the Asterix versus Pandemics. This one seems to be a very sentimental one to you. Can you tell us why?
Yeah, because in fact, the artist of Asterix, Albert Uderzo, died at this very time, as the world was going into lockdown. He was 92, he didn't die of COVID-19, but he died at that point, and I thought, well, it felt to me like I'll do a homage to him. Asterix versus Pandemics, all together, all apart, hold it off till the magic potion's ready. Of course, the magic potion, down in the bottom left, that's the COVID-19 vaccine, and the druid Getafix is working on that, along with a druid from China and one from Germany. Then Asterix represents France, Asterix and Obelix, and Getafix the druid. They've got a little guy from Spain who's one of the characters. Spain was massively affected. The old guy from Italy above them, the Italian population was old and many people were dying. Iran was very affected. South Korea, the little girl at the top. Then you see South Africa there.
Yes.
And then of course Scandinavia, then America at the top, which was about to become the epicenter. Then there's Brazil and there's Kenya, and it's that idea. All of them have got sanitizers of various kinds. So it felt. And the other thing, I'll just tell you one more thing about my own connection with Uderzo. When I was a 21-year-old student, I knocked on his door at 11 o'clock at night in Paris, in autumn, not in summer, because I got lost and I thought, I'm only passing this way once. And he actually invited me into his home for about 15 minutes. His daughter translated, he didn't speak English, and I never forgot that. It's one of the reasons that I thought let me go and leave architecture and try and become a cartoonist. So they're very sentimental.
All right, so the clicks one, that is a very controversial one. Of course, we remember going through that in South Africa, all those marches, for instance, by the economic freedom fighters. But I realized that with this cartoon, you didn't go your usual way of having, for instance, your Floyd Shivambu and Julius Malema picketing somewhere. You have a beautiful afro across the page.
I immediately thought about that idea of and then I was not the only one. There were other people who thought of it soon after. But as a cartoon, you can really do something. As a cartoonist, you can go a different route from other people. And I felt that the important thing was not, I mean, the EFF has been looking for ways to be relevant. This was a very, very important issue and a genuine one. But they've been made a little bit irrelevant by some of the aspects of lockdown. And, you know, they get on the bandwagon of various things. This was a genuine thing that a lot of people felt. And I felt too, even as a white male. But certainly it felt to me like the old horrible idea from apartheid of the pencil test, pushing a pencil through someone's hair, and if it fell out, you were not white enough. If it stayed in, you were not white enough. That was, it must be something that, I mean, I can't imagine. I try and imagine, but it felt to me like that would reflect this terrible decision by Clicks and the other people who were involved in putting this advert on, the lack of concern and lack of understanding.
Let's talk about the excuses one, page 119 in the book. Of course, you know, a lot of people will look at this and understand exactly what you were trying to illustrate here.
Yeah, that's, you know, Jacob Zuma. I've been a sort of arch enemy of Jacob Zuma for about 20 years, and that's not an exaggeration. The first cartoon, actually the very first critical cartoon I did of Jacob Zuma talking about the corruption was at the end of 2002. 2002. That's long before he became president even of the ANC, let alone the country.
Exactly.
So this one is it says excuses, and he says, my first spin is for my court case. First spin is for my court case. Next one's for Zondo. And the guys got their subpoena, so, you know, probably for Zondo, but these excuses, I'm sick, I'm busy in Cuba, COVID-19, NPA plot, it's Pravins doing no time to prepare, dinner with Putin, Hanekom CIA plot, wives poisoning me, Gupta stole my funds, dog ate my crib notes. You know, I mean, he's going to keep playing off the court case and the Zondo Commission and say, well, he can't go to the Zondo Commission because he's preparing for his court case and for the court case, you know, and vice versa. That's a lot of not. Yeah.
So, you know, how long have you been doing this? I mean, you mentioned 2002 when you first had a cartoon about the former president. How long have you been doing this cartoon thing?
Well, 2002 would be that's 2 decades in. So that's how long I've been in. 1983 is when I joined the United Democratic Front when the ANC was banned, the UDF was launched. I was in the army unwillingly, refusing to carry a gun. And while I was in the army, I joined the UDF, and as soon as possible began doing cartoons for the movement. And so I've been, for the first sort of decade, it was really being an activist cartoonist in the movement and for various organizations, and a little bit of newspaper stuff, certainly around about 87, 88. But I really became a proper editorial cartoonist, doing 6 cartoons a week from 1994 onwards, in the year that we became a democracy.
I mean, when I think of cartoonists, I always think Zapiro, right? A lot of people will even mistake other people's cartoons for yours and call it a Zapiro cartoon. That's how long we've known you to be an editorial cartoonist. But, you know, South African politics, our drama, and now I saw there's also the USA's Donald Trump when they were becoming the epicenter of the world. We give you a whole lot of content, don't we? Our drama gives you a lot of content.
South Africa, you know, I've often joked many times about how much more difficult it would be being a cartoonist in New Zealand or Sweden or something. And we have as much happening in a week as some places have in 6 months. There is a lot going on here. Of course, the United States, You know, they've moved from having, you know, they've always had their issues, and I've had a love-hate relationship. I actually lived in America for 2.5 years in New York, and I love New York, but there are aspects of America that are really difficult. Trump has taken America backwards by such a long way, and he and a number of other world leaders, like the Modi in India and Bolsonaro in Brazil, leading big countries, have as populist leaders who have no idea about how to listen to the scientists and actually do the right thing. They've really screwed up, and that's been a massive issue. So suddenly, you know, places like the United States they've been really front and center of a lot of news, because the rest of the world actually depends on massive countries like America and China doing the right thing when it comes to climate, when it comes to pandemics, when it comes to aid to the rest of the world, because they've got to their positions by various means, and the rest of the world is dependent on some of those big countries much more than we would like to be.
Even with the vaccine, I mean, if you talk about how much we need the vaccine in disadvantaged countries, we need countries such as that. But also, do you frequent courtrooms? Do people sue you, or have they just gotten used to, you know, it's Zapiro?
I haven't been sued in a while, but I certainly have had. I mean, the aforementioned Jacob Zuma sued me in 2 massive lawsuits, one for 15 million rand and one that started at 7 million rand. And he's not the only one. In fact, the first person to ever try to sue me, start proceedings, was in 1996. It was Baleka Mbete. She got her nose out of joint with a cartoon that I did, and I remember the papers, you know, arriving. And there've been others. There've been various other people who've tried to sue, or who've there's been legal action against the newspapers. And there's actually a lawyer that I've worked with who's worked on many cases that involve my cartoons, and Dario Milo in Johannesburg. He's fantastic. He's been brilliant.
So this type of journalism, it's basically journalism, these tattoos that, or rather these cartoons that you have. Is it possible for it to grow? Is it possible, you know, for people who want to do it,
Yes, look, the media, world of media is changing. So newspapers are under threat, and sometimes cartoonists' jobs in newspapers have been under threat, even though since around about 2000, certainly earlier in some countries, but around about 2000 in South Africa, digital platforms were going alongside the newspapers. I mean, the paper that I used to work for, the Mail and Guardian, was one of the pioneers of that, and probably the most well-read site at that point in Africa. But now it's newspapers are under threat. Interestingly, the publication that I work for now, which is an online publication, the Daily Maverick, has bucked the trend and has started a weekly newspaper called 168, which is fantastic. And they've got great content. They've got absolutely brilliant people at the Daily Maverick. I'm very happy to be there. But for people starting out, there are ways of finding, you know, getting attention online. That's very much so. And, you know, they're all kinds. You have to be very creative now and look for different ways for people to start seeing what you do. Used to be, you know, print publications when I started out, small ones, and then getting into newspapers. But there are ways. There are certainly ways.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a last question, but I'm going to ask the team if you could get number 7 up on there, because I want us to do the Macorona again one last time before I close the show. So while you answer this question, can I ask the team to please bring it back up? Just where do we get the book and how much is it?
Where you get it, certainly at exclusive books at CNA, at all of the major bookstores, It's published by Jacana. How much is it? You know that I have not got the cover price here. I think it's around about 180 or 185. Sorry, I should have got that, but that's not usually front and center for me. It's just getting the book out and getting it done.
Well, it's pretty cool. Is there
a time lag? Or will I be? Do you want me to sing it again?
I want us to sing it together, actually.
Okay.
And I hope
All
the
right.
viewers can see it so the viewers can also sing with us. So do you have it in front of you?
I've got it in front of me.
All right.
I'll sing it slightly slower so that if there's a lag, then we can all get into rhythm.
Okay,
All
cool.
right, so-
All right.
Right, ready?
Yes.
Keep your social distance
Around about a meter. Don't shake hands.
Shake hands.
Use the elbow of the feeter. Avoid big crowds. You should rather be a loner. And Macorona. Sneeze into your elbow. It's essential hygiene. If you're symptomatic, maybe self-quarantine. It's all gone global from Beijing to Barcelona. And Macorona. Clean hands often with hand sanitizer. Listen to official medical advisor. Ignore fake news when it pings on your phone. And Macorona. Conspiracies, forget him.
And religious polemic.
It's not God's fury, it's a viral pandemic. Don't trust Trump, he's a toot, toot, toot.
Macorona.
And Macorona. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for your time. That is, of course, cartoonist Zapiro joining us and telling us about his book. Be sure to go get it. Still